when we started it, we actually sat down and had 20 points. I think I said we had 2 million different data points that we use.
Amazing.
But the machine found all those other data points. Our algorithm did.
Yeah.
I had like 6.
Welcome to this week's WealthBuilders Podcast, and thank you so much for tuning in. I am really thrilled to say that we have got Jeff VanderWal back today, and we're doing another podcast on leadership. Welcome, Jeff.
I am so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
This is just so much fun. We've been chatting in between too and just learning a lot, but I don't want to forget to mention this. Tell us about your podcast. You've got one that's built for a purpose and how people can find you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Built for a Purpose podcast. You can find it on any streaming platform. We really dive into people's purpose and aligning, what's God's call for your life and what's your purpose, and really how those people found it. And it's been a lot. I've learned a lot about a lot of my friends on it, so it's been great.
Yeah, it's really good. And you say, like, when you start talking, sort of like this, we don't really know exactly where the Lord's going to take it, but it's always interesting.
Yeah, amen.
And if you missed the last podcast I did with Jeff, you definitely want to go back and watch that. And I was just sharing that our giveaway today is Billy's book called Overcoming Disappointment, and it's a free download. And we touched on that in the last podcast. I'm sure we will this one too, because it's something as a leader that you have to learn to deal with. So just click on the link below and you can get a digital download of this book completely free. So Jeff, one of the things that we're going to be talking about today is how, as a leader, do we keep up with all the technology? I mean, if we just even talk about AI, right? That's a big thing. Some people are afraid of it. They don't want to touch it. Others, like you've dug into it early on. I've really dug into it and learned how to use it. But with all the technologies, with all the changes, with all the rapid development that's happening in our economy, how, as a leader, do you keep up with these things and not get overwhelmed with everything?
Yeah, it's a challenge. I think, I teach a course at the business school on AI. Do. And this year to year, I'm like, it's a completely different game. I mean, the AI world is changing so fast. And so I think there's a couple of things I think that I've had to be able to kind of get to terms with in my own mind's eye is that, it's out of my ability to understand. We even have a analytics company, right, that uses AI. And I'm like, I don't really know how this is working at this point. Now I just know what the data looks like or what I want. And I think that's a good thing as a leader. You don't have to understand the ins and outs of everything that you guys use or your organization uses, but you do have to recognize what the new expectation is, right? Good. So let me give you a kind of a silly example, but when email really became a thing, right? So I grew up in the 90s. I was born in the 80s, kind of grew up in the 90s, and we kind of watched that whole like email thing come to pass. So I'm young enough to see kind of the evolution of that, but I was also watched like my dad unwilling to use it. So he would like take off bids with a pen and a yellow pad till 2 a.m, and then he would mail stuff, right? Or fax stuff from our house. Yes. And so there just comes a point in time where it's like faxes are no longer acceptable. You have to email. The expectation is you'll get back to me in 15 minutes on this email. So it's a kind of a silly example, but when you fast forward to 2025, what we're expected is like it's for you to not understand or have some sort of platform that can utilize AI. That's the new expectation. And so you have to be able to say, listen, what's the industry standard of what we're expected to do in my business? And then really operate accordingly. I think the other thing I would say too, from like proposals, bidding, whatever you're doing, recognizing that there is a subscription that's coming out that can do it way faster than you can. And so it's really good. When things first come out, I would say be cautiously optimistic, learn what you can learn, eat the hay, spit out the sticks type of thing. Yep. But also realize that within a year or 18 months, there's going to be enough competing software in the AI space to do whatever you need it to do, that you have to become sensitive to that, because it will help you become warp speed faster in your dailies. That'll make you more effective and efficient.
That's really good. In the Christian world, sometimes when technology comes out, there's this idea that it's evil. And we certainly heard that with AI. And I think it's like anything, like money, it can be used for evil. But how do you stay in a position as a leader to not just be afraid of something, but actually look at things and be open-minded when people bring them to you?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's actually really simple. The word never changes. So like the biblical structure, how God has created things, our walk with the Lord, me in 2025 and, my mom in 1975, it's the same word, it's the same thing. So he never changes, his principles never changes, his call never changes on our life. And so anything that is ebbing and flowing and changing technologically speaking isn't changing any of that. It's just our ability to adapt to the marketplace. And so I think that really helps keep things grounded. Like, is this going against what God would ask or call me to do? And if the answer is no, I'm cool with it. If we're replacing like my time with the Lord, I know what I like to do. If I get something that's trying to replace that with something else that's like a spoon-fed shortcut, I'm like, that's probably not really healthy
good
for me, right?
Right.
And I think I agree. Like AI, when we first started really diving into that, there was a lot of like, it's the devil, right? Now, I think there's some really negative things about AI. I think there's some really positive things about AI. And so I think we have to use discernment like everything else we're called to do. And so we need to embrace it to the degree that it's not going against what God's calling us to do or what his principles are. I think if we can keep those things in alignment, it's relatively easy to keep them separated.
I think that's really good. And too, just with AI, we've really dug into it. I've learned to really enjoy using it, but there is always that oversight of it. Still checking the facts and using platforms or asking questions in a way that doesn't bring in some of the woke ideology or, trying to influence. And I think for kids, growing up in this world too, just even paying attention to like what AI program are they using? Is it replacing them learning? There's all those things that come with it, but we're faced with that all the time. I mean, I remember back in high school, I'm really dating myself here, but when the computers, there was no such thing as a computer. Right. I was in high school and all at once there's a computer and it filled an entire classroom. And it was so antiquated, right?
That's awesome.
It was so funny, but in that, it was very interesting because my mom, like, she did not want to touch a computer. She never did until the day she passed away. But my dad, who was in banking, embraced it. So he is 93 and he has a laptop that he does, and his mind is so sharp.
That's great.
So I think there's an aspect with that too, like, we don't want to just cover our head with some of this stuff. We want to be aware because we want to know what our kids are seeing, what they're hearing, but also just to stay relevant in our various industries. Now, you're mainly in the car industry, so there's probably changes all the time. Where's the best place for us to find some of the latest technology and information that's coming out in our industry? Where do you look to learn about that?
Yeah, so industry specific. So that's where it gets a little bit interesting because I think we all have like pioneers in our industries.
Yes.
For us, we have it's like software that we look at. And so we have a company called ProLogic AI that we've kind of developed, but we've really trying to get predictive analytics. For me, I feel like predictive analytics is the number one area right now that everybody can benefit from.
Explain that.
Yeah, so predictive analytics is like, so for example, we can look at a consumer. So you're going to have to kind of translate to your own business from here, but like we can have a certain consumer that's a perfect buyer for us, right? So he wants to buy a certain kind of car or she wants to buy a certain kind of car and she's got a certain credit score and a certain type of person that we're like, that's our ideal customer. Where can I find more of those? Well, with artificial intelligence, what you can basically do is build a profile of that person and then it can go out and find key characteristics. So like, for example, our company does 2 million data points that it'll pull off of one person. And we'll be able to tell, okay, if I want more of these people, this is where you need to market. And so now we're using kind of a rifle campaign instead of a shotgun approach.
Wow.
Instead of just broadcasting advertising, we're going after individual demographics, right? And so that's true though with anything. That's not just automotive, and that's just not ProLogic. That's really if you're in real estate, if you're like, hey, I want to send out an email on to these types of people, a mailer to these types of people. I don't want to spend $20,000 and 19,000 of the stuff went to people that can't even qualify to buy it, right? So what AI does now is it's able to say, I want to predict if I'm going to sell this house, I want to know how long it's going to be on the market before it sells. So there's like even a date to sale type of technology that's out there. So that's all predictive analytics and it's all math. And so I would say predictive analytics is probably most companies that have kind of blue collar people, I'd call it, like myself. I mean, I think blue collar, I always call it cowboy math. Like I can get pretty close without using the calculator. But that's where most people are like, listen, I have a plumbing business and I want more customers, but I want more of the right customers. What these predictive analytics will do is help you duplicate more of the customers that you already have. Another space is really growing is like the fintech space. So financial technology software is like off the charts. And so being able to help understand your business and how you can grow and how you can be more effective and more efficient, they can come in there, take all your spreadsheets, databases, and really boil those down to understand this is where you're really good, this is where you're really weak, and need some help there. So when you let those pieces of software inside of your business, they can do really amazing things. I have a friend of mine that builds car washes, and he literally, anytime somebody clicks a button to go into the county to get approved for a car wash, it literally will alert him and it'll send him all the information of what developer just put their information in to get a car wash, because it's all public record. So it's just sifting through that, where he used to go through the public records and have to look individually of who applied this week for a car wash and then cold call them. It'll literally find out who applied for a car wash, get their information, and send them a mailer in like one fail swoop. So if you're going to be up to speed, it's like that's how fast things are moving. And so whatever industry you're in, if you're just willing to just say, hey, go to a conference, what I do is I have 2 or 3 people that I really watch, and I watch what they're suggesting, kind of influencers.
Yes.
And I watch them, and then I'm like, okay, I'll buy into that and I'll check it out and subscribe to it. And if it doesn't work, I'll get rid of it. And if it does, then we'll keep paying for it.
So the predictive analytics is what you're describing, and you use those. And so how do you take something like that where you kind of have your ideal avatar, you might say, with all the characteristics?
Perfect way to say it, yeah.
And how do you connect that information to actually reaching them? You know what I'm saying? Like there's a step in there that happens before an ad is delivered or something shows up in their mailbox. So what do you do with that information that actually translates into something that you end up getting in the hands of the right people?
So what we would use is a third party, even like SurveyMonkey or somebody really silly like that has an email campaign component to them.
Yeah.
So we use some CRM systems. I may think of one that is really helpful. I'll think about it in a second when we go, but a CRM system that you can put all your database into, and then they can just do email drip campaigns. So we don't sit there and build the email templates and stuff ourselves. We have subcontractors that come in and say, okay, this is your ideal candidate or avatar, right? And you want more of those people. So they'll find the names, and then you just use like a SurveyMonkey or just an email distribution company to send out those drip campaigns. And then you can use the AI software can build the actual campaign for you as well. So you can have, hey, I want, you can build the pictures or whatever you want in to promote your company. The one thing I will tell you to be careful though of is, like, we've used some inexpensive ones in the past, and like we had people with 3 eyeballs that were, and like nobody's checking the pictures that they made.
My goodness.
So like the ads coming out, and like there's a lady walking, one of our ads, we had a lady walking into a Jeep, like half, and I'm like, you can see her like walking into the Jeep, and I'm like, that's not going to work. And then we almost sent it out, right? So we have to dial that oversight way back. You still have to have oversight, because your machine's doing a lot of work, but you still need the human element. I would say that too, if I can, just real quick, is the whole point that we use from an AI standpoint, we use AI to make our humans more human. So we're not trying to replace our humans with machines. We're trying to make our humans extremely
productive,
quick,
efficient,
productive, and effective. Yeah, exactly. So I still want people to have a sticky conversation with somebody. I still want them to understand the heart behind what we're doing. We just want to use the tools to make us more productive, right? There's a difference between using a hammer and a nail gun, right? And so, it doesn't replace the craftsman. It just makes them more productive. Yeah. And I think what ends up happening, for those of you who are in construction, after a long enough time, the craftsmen are gone. And it's just mediocre everything. And so I think you got to be really careful. A lot of us really appreciate a craftsman that come into your home and build an amazing, cabinet for you or something super beautiful. That guy's really, really rare. So the one thing I would say is as technology goes leaping forward, who you are and your skill set still becoming extremely excellent and understanding how to communicate with people and understanding how to do your job really, really well. The faster paced things go, the more I think people value excellence and the ability to do it really, really well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that is so interesting. And it's just amazing and awesome, Jeff, that you kind of dove into this and have led the charge at your organization to really use these predictive analytics and AI. It's super helpful. And I like how you connected to that it doesn't replace people. So when you look back on this, and I'm actually just going to ask you if you would do a session on this at our boot camp, because I think a lot of us want to know more about AI, and Jeff is a really good source. So when you started to connect with AI and you started using these tools, can you give me an idea of how it impacted your efficiency, maybe your profit, your bottom line, your growth? Like what impact did it have once you kind of tweaked it and found this sweet spot?
Yeah, it's a great question because it is a spend, right? To buy software and to develop software. And let me just say this, I am not a computer whiz. Like I'm not somebody that sits at night and writes code.
Good, that helps all of us.
Okay, so just to be really clear, I told you I'm a kind of a blue collar cowboy guy. I am. And so I just realized like for us to be competitive in the market, we have to be a step ahead. And maybe this will help some people in this, and I do want to get back to your question, so I do want to answer that. But we were looking at everybody else's version of what they thought we needed, and what they were doing is telling us everything that's happened in the last month or two, here's all the data for that, so make decisions in your company based upon what happened 2 months ago. So this is the same with real estate. Hey, this is what sold last week, last month, last year. That does not help right now because the market's all over the place, right? So I used to ask myself the question, I really felt like this was like a righteous indignation from the Lord. I'm like, I don't want to look through my rearview mirror to try to make decisions of what's coming. I want to understand what's coming before it happens. And so
that's great.
We actually called it ProLogic, not because it was, predictive analytics. It sounds like it was actually prophetic. We wanted to prophetically understand what was coming in the future. So what we did was we said, okay, what data points can we use to start finding out what's going to happen with our particular widget? Okay, so it's way in the weeds and it's probably getting relatively boring. But here's what I want to tell you is that we were asking the right questions. And so find out in your business, it's like, these are the pain points for us. Why can't we, like, for example, like our social media side of things, like it's a lot of work. And so we had a lot of employees that do that. So what we've been able to do is really replace some of those people with a predictive schedule and hey, this is what we want to do, this is what we want to build, this is our brand, this is what we put out there. And so we've been able to cut back on personnel, being able to utilize that in like the social media space. So there's a really tangible way that we were able to do that. The second thing for us is we can manage way larger inventory with less people. So with our predictive analytics, we have tens of millions of dollars worth of cars, right? We have cars, lots of VINs, lots of different makes, models, whatever. So we're able to decipher that down and make really good decisions in a very short amount of time.
That's so good.
And so again, I know that's kind of industry specific, but when you're looking at like a rental, your rental homes, it's like, well, which ones are working and why? Who's renting my place and why? I want more of those people. I want the best renters that understand what I bring to the market, not the 700 that are looking at it. I want the 10 that said yes. How do I find more of them?
So good.
So it's really using a scalpel instead of a hammer, right? It's understanding like I want more of the best, and how do I continue to skim that off the top and then duplicate that?
That's so good.
There's a way to do all that.
So how do people locate the tool that works for them in their industry? Is it?
It's as silly as just like, I would literally Google what is, if you're in real estate, you're going to get 100 different options. What I would do is I'd go to a trade show. I would go to a conference because they'll all be set up. They'll have paid their money. They've all got, make sure you don't get oversold on something that doesn't deliver. But what I would do is I'd go to a trade show where they've got 20 or 30 different booths, and there'll be a cutting edge piece of software. And and most of them are $1,500 a month. That's what everybody seems to charge, is $1,500 a month for stuff. But you can connect at a human level with the why. Like, why did you guys build this? And 2 or 3 of them will be a great fit for you. And so I'd invest the money and fly to Houston or wherever you got to go and go to the convention center and walk it and invest the time. The relationship component as well. Of like, here's where my business is struggling. How would you fix that? Because if you get them on the phone or try to call in or try to email, you're not going to get the real story. So I would say trade shows for us, without question, is the best place to find the right fit for what we need. I think the other thing too, real quick, is you can say, I don't know what we need. Here's where we're struggling. And I would like to understand better where I can solve that problem. It's going to be at those trade shows because they understand and they've built a widget to fix them. So everyone's going to tell you on Google that they're the best option. So that's what I would do personally as I go to a trade show.
That is super helpful. I got an Uber from the airport the other night in Florida, and I was just chatting with this gentleman, and he was telling me all the steps he's done at 9 years that he has learned, and he has developed his specific avatar.
Wow.
And I was really fascinated by that conversation because to me, if I look at an Uber driver, you get a request, you do it. Well, he was sharing with me, and this is really good data that is in line with some of the things we've been talking about. He said he doesn't do any trips in Orlando anymore because he found that he was doing really short trips. The people that he didn't have control over who he's picking up, he shared a couple of really bad situations. He actually got, someone pulled a gun on him. Oh, wow. So it's taken him 9 years to kind of find out what his rhythm and what works best for him. So he was walking through how he decided, no, I'm not going to do any more in Orlando. All he'll do is he will pick up people from the airport and he'll bring them to somewhere that is, a longer trip. So we go to Cocoa Beach and there's Cape Canaveral there and there's all those cruise ships. So he was telling me that they sit in this parking lot and he watches his phone. He said, I had 100 requests before I clicked on yours.
That's awesome.
I was so fascinated by that conversation. And he was telling me why. First of all, he was telling me that ratings, you got to pay attention to ratings because a high rating, it really means something where it was at least, that 40-minute drive. It was to a house. He said he's learned that you don't pick up someone or drop them off in some random place that is not like a hotel or a specific address. And so he was taking all this and manually, him and his friends and family, he's got a lot of people involved with it. They were figuring this predictive analytics out on Uber.
100%.
And then he was sharing with a single mom, so he would just share with people to try to help them. Well, then when we were going back from the airport, we had a different driver and he had his own avatar as well, but it was different than this other guy. So I just really thought that is such a great example of being an Uber driver, of refining your business model. They were not using tools like you described, but what if there was tools to see what is the best one and then actually going after those things. So in a moment, there was these steps that they took to decide. And he said he has a cancellation rate of 22% because in his steps that he checks, one of them is he goes out and he looks at our social media profile.
Before he clicks yes?
After, if he's clicked yes, and then he has a follow-up where he goes and he looks the name and he goes on social media and he has certain things he looks for. And if the social media profile does not match with where he wants to be, he will cancel that trip.
That's amazing.
I know, Jeff. I was so fascinated by that conversation. And when you were talking, it's that is exactly what you're describing. But maybe if someone doesn't have the big tools that they can jump in at $1,500 a month, and we like to help people think about the way to think, right? It's a process that you're describing. It's a new wineskin in this.
That's so good.
And sometimes we can do that from an analysis standpoint with even just rudimentary tools and lay out the things. So Yeah.
That's such a, I would almost say like, so to validate what you just said, when we started it, we actually sat down and had 20 points. I think I said we had 2 million different data points that we used.
Amazing.
But the machine found all those other data points. Our algorithm did.
Yeah.
I had like 6. I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. And they took that and extrapolated on it. But the point is the 6 got me 90% of where we wanted to go.
Wow.
So to your point, like if inside of your business, if you're able to look at it and say, these are the key characteristics, even if you have a small business, you can literally write down or look in your CRM and see, here are my 100 customers. What are my best customers and why? And then write those things down and you pray over those things too. Lord, I want more of this. I want more of these people. Bring these people, right? Bring these more people like this. And if you can be more specific about it. But I think that's a great place to start. And that's really what we did was, at the most basic level, what is it about this person that we like? What makes them a raving fan of what we do? And I want more of those people. I mean, I think you're nailed that right on the head.
This is so good. This has been a great conversation. I'm sure you guys have really enjoyed this. And Jeff, I think people are getting an idea of what they can do, at a micro level and then maybe at a larger level. But it's kind of like what's in your hands. Mm-hmm. And what you've shared today is what's in our hand is we actually, if we pay attention, do have the ability to hone in on things. And look, you just like what you said, AI brought it to 2 million, but the core of what you were able to identify got you on the right track.
Exactly. 100%.
This is doable for all of us. And right now my brain is just like firing. I was just thinking about like our Airbnbs or vacation rentals. We've definitely come up with things that have worked, but we have not done a formal process with it. Where we're like, okay, let's specifically go after these. But if we just have a conversation, we're kind of doing it not on purpose based on what we learned. But if we shift that into being purposeful, we could really, with descriptions and everything, attract that perfect client.
It's another chapter for your orchard.
It is.
Another chapter in how to build an orchard.
It is. This is good. All right, so we'll do something. We've got a virtual business conference that's coming up. I don't know the date offhand, but that boot camp, get registered for that boot camp. Jeff's a part of that. And we've come up with a couple topics here that I know that people need. Awesome. I need it. So this has been amazing. Also, just a reminder that our free offer today is a free download on overcoming disappointment, changing obstacles to opportunities. Zoe here was just sharing that she was having one of those days where maybe it wasn't the best day or something happened. So she just read this whole book in one sitting and she felt all better about it. I thought that was really a great testimony. So just click on the link below and you can go ahead and get this free download. Also go to wealthbuilders.org/biz bootcamp and get registered for this boot camp. I'm really excited about it because it gives us a little time for 2025 to sort of settle out a bit. And we knew it was going to be turbulent. Yep. And in one of the recent conferences, Billy said, just give it 90 days to settle out. Yep. And we'll be at that point at the time that we do this boot camp. So Jeff, this has been awesome. Any final comments you'd like to share?
Yeah, I mean, we're already into Q1, right? Like we're moving, we're getting well into 25, and it's awesome. I think there's a lot of anticipation. I will say this: when you were just speaking, Karen, who you surround yourself with is going to help you spark ideas. Karen and I are just sitting here, and we're having an organic conversation, and my mind is going all over the place because you just get around people that are like-minded and going in the same direction as you, and it's just so profitable. So I'd encourage you with your friends to have these conversations and push yourself to the next level.
Yeah, and come to Wealth Builders, the events, because we're just full of people like this. That's so good, Jeff. Thank you. Thanks, all of you. Remember to share this podcast with your friends and family. We love and appreciate you. Have an amazing rest of your day.